Hello everybody, how's it going? Screezilla here and hope you're all well, and welcome to War Thunder. We are taking out the SAAB J21R. There we go, yeah, got the right one. The SAAB J21RB today, or BRBR, RBY? Oh god, so many different numbers and letters and variations and all those fun things. This is the attacker variant of the plane, the 21RB, which was the sort of second production series of the J21 series. The first was a sort of pure fighter with the de Havilland Goblin Engine installed, and it was pretty much later developed into sort of a ground attacker with many guns on board, including a couple of 12.7mm 50 calibers, a 20mm gun, and of course 8mm machine guns on the gun pod below with the nice smiley shark tooth. It was an interesting plane, the J21, and the 21 in general. It was a development, of course, of the piston version of the plane. And it was an interesting plane in that respect, similar to the MiG, the Yak 9 and things like that, which were just basically piston-driven planes with a jet engine slapped into the back of them. However, this kind of worked much better in the 21's case, not only because it had a much better jet engine in the de Havilland Goblin engine, but also because the engine sat behind the pilot, so there was plenty of room to play around with things. This did cause problems with the piston engine variant, of course, because the propeller sat behind the pilot, and this meant that bailing out was kind of a bit of a dangerous thing to do, because, you know, when you bail out generally you go backwards, and with the tailplane design and of course the propeller at the back, what's generally going to happen is you're going to get sucked into a giant spinning blade of death. So not the best thing to happen when you're bailing out of a plane on fire and in trouble. So with the jet engine, that sort of helped with that problem, but what did help with this plane was the fact it had ejector seats. Yes, it had ejector seats. A plane developed in the sort of 1940s with ejector seats, and this isn't too uncommon. There are a few planes at this time with this design in them and this kind of sort of setup, which is just very cool stuff. Now, another thing with this plane is its use of a G-suit. Now, this is going to be a bit of a touchy subject, because the G-suit should be in the SAAB 29 Tunan, the tuner, the barrel boy, as we call it, because the Swedish developed the G-suit relatively early, and they were very early adapters to it. The G-suit's a bit of an interesting story as well, as we come down here on a 262 try and catch up, but the trouble with this plane, because it's designed as a prop first, it does struggle with speed. But the G-suit was a really cool concept. It was started on in around about 1931 by Professor Frank Cotton at the University of Sydney in Australia. And it was sort of developing the centre of gravity and things like that with the human body. And as planes got faster and planes got tougher and could do much better turns, it turned out that people couldn't cope with it and they were blacking out. And, you know, as it happens in the game, when you turn too quickly, you do black out. Your vision fades, and then all of a sudden you just go unconscious. Also redding out as well, and that's with a positive G, I think it is. Yeah, negative G is blacking out, positive is redding out. So we're just getting a bit of a dogfight here with this ME262, and coming down on it. And then 262 is, in all honesty, a much better jet. Much better design. It was designed as a jet first. Very good plane, and we're right here on this guy's tail. We get a nice big crit. Unfortunately, just to an aileron. We've done some really good damage to the engine though, and this plane is going down. We have got him, and he is going to crash into the ground, and very close there. We do a couple more shots, get another little couple of hits and a crit, and we just break off here. And then a Yak 15 comes and steals the kill from me. Thank you very much, dickhead. Gotta love kill stealers. Just before we go on about G-suits, I just want to talk about the kill stealing. It's something needs to be worked out for War Thunder with that, because it's such a problem. There's such a vast difference between getting a kill and getting an assist. It's about 10,000 lions, and it's a heap of research points. So, you know, it is a big effect. They need to do something where if you are basically hitting a plane within, a 500-meter radius of it, and have critted it and things like that, and working as part of the solution to take it down, you need to get better rewards, in all honesty, because it's just it's such a shitty thing, and you just get so many of these bastard kill stealers around, and it just ruins the game. Anyway, G-suits. So, a little bit later on, the first G-suits were developed by a Canadian, Toronto medical professor, Professor Wilbur Franks, and developed with the Dunlop Company. They developed a system where basically you were in a big sort of rubbery suit, and it was filled with water pockets and had a sort of hydraulic system to it. Used hydraulics. We're a bit of trouble here. We've got a 109 on our 6, and we're kind of a little bit sluggish. Another problem is playing is a bit sluggish, but we do get some help from our friends, so that's going to help us out an awful lot here. So we're just going to bait him at the moment, and he is baiting lovely. We get a couple of hits on our engine, but we are fine. And the Corsair swoops in and saves the day, so thank you very much, Corsair. So yeah, the first G-suits were actually developed back in 1941, and the first time they were put into operational service was in 1942 with the Fleet Air Arm in Operation Torch, and they were used in the Hurricanes and Spitfires at the time, which is a really cool thing. And of course, we don't get that in War Thunder because, we can't have nice things. It's really interesting when you think back to the fact that these things are around and were in the planes at the time. These things were in Spitfires and in Hurricanes and were helping out pilots back then. And they don't get put in the game because of, balancing reasons and stuff like that, which is the constant, normal excuse for everything in War Thunder at the moment. But there's a problem, as I said, with the SAAB A21RB, is the fact that the premium version gets a G-suit, yet the tech tree version doesn't, and it's just absolute bollocks. But we'll get back to that in a moment. So yeah, the G-suit was designed for that, and went on from then. So a little bit later on, Professor Frank Cotton of Sydney University then designed the first gas-operated G-suit, and that was in around about 1940 and got implemented about 1942-43, and was a bit of a better design, a little bit easier. It was a decent suit, and it would give good protection around about 2 to 3 G. The Royal Air Force ran competitive trials between both G-suits, and the Frank Cotton G-suit was actually adapted in 1944, with the gas-powered G-suit being adapted with inflatable bladders rather than the water system, because the water system, if you're in an unpressurized cockpit, it can get a little bit chilly, and water can get hot and cold and leaks, and there's all these problems, and a gas system can be a much easier system to use. It's also a little bit more reliable and quicker to be used as well. And of course, what a G-suit does is it basically applies pressure to your legs and your abdomen and pushes the blood up from underneath you and pushes the blood back to your head. Because when you're blacking out from a G-force, it is literally just the blood is all dropping to the bottom of your belly and to your feet. So you just all your blood drops to the bottom of your feet, and then all of a sudden you have no blood at your brain has no oxygen going to it, and it blacks out. You go unconscious. So this was a huge development, and the Swedish were very early adapters of this. They started using them in about 46, I think, was the first sort of G-suits used by the Swedish Army, Swedish Air Force, sorry. And they were used in, obviously, the SAAB A21R. Ju-288 here, a very dangerous target. I always find they are risky, so we get some good shots on him and manage to take out the gunner. So we'll swing back for that one and hopefully get the kill. We were on takeoff, so we're going to come back around. There's no gunner to worry about now. Nice easy kill here, shouldn't be too hard. This guy is going to go down very quickly, and we're going to start catching up to him as well, because look at that, all that engine damage. And then the flak kills him. So we have a kill stolen by the AI. In those situations, again, I feel like they need to do something, because it's such horse crap that, one, they wouldn't be firing flak while one of their own planes was over their airfield, but two, it's just so frustrating that you lose so much of your earning potential because of something stupid like that. That JU-288 was mine, and yeah, obviously, you know, problems, and yeah, all la-di-da-di-da, and things gone wrong. So yeah, back to the G suit. Sorry, we'll carry on with things there for the time being. We'll carry on with all of our aspects there, just as I switch around for a moment. It is just such a frustrating thing to happen. So yeah, the G suit, fantastic innovation, and it was used in the SAAB 21, and it was used ever since then. And of course, it was put into full service with the Vampire when it came over to Sweden. The Vampire was pretty much the first plane to get the full suit and have everything linked up, and really worked out well for them. And it makes such a difference in game as well, because the J29 to me is almost useless as a plane flying without the G suit, because you need to have such a high crew skill to not black out. It's very frustrating, and the fact it's not in the tech tree as a regular thing while the premium has it is just another case of the pay to win system for Gaijin, and it is just so very frustrating. If you do need to look up details about the 29 actually having G suits, there are lots of documents out there. There is a lot of documentation on it, so yeah, pretty easy to find out. So anyway, back to the 21. One of the cool things about this plane, and one of the things I really wish we had access to, were actually the fuel tanks on the side. The drop tanks on this plane were designed to be able to be detached, and one of the really cool things is they could actually be armed. So they had made a system which made it so you could detach the fuel tanks if they still had fuel in them, and actually arm them to explode as incendiary bombs. So effectively you had spare bombs on your plane if need be, if you felt like it. If you were in a decent fight, you had enough fuel to get home, you could use those drop tanks as a incendiary device. And they were actually tested with a napalm solution in them as well, which again is just such a cool little unique option. You know, just really quirky little thing. One of those Swedish things, you know, it's just like, yeah, we have these fuel tanks. Like, sorry, well, I'm speaking Russian, well, I can't do a Swedish accent. So a Swedish accent, so there we go. We have these fuel tanks, and they seem to be good, and we have fuel in them extra. Well, maybe we drop them and make them bomb. You know, it's just such a unique Swedish thing, and the J21 is really that thing about Swedish planes and Swedish engineering. Is it's a plane designed by Sweden as a prop. They turned it into a jet, which wasn't uncommon. As I said, you've got things like the Yak that had that happen as well, but they made it work very well, and it was a decent jet. The biggest problem of the plane really was the actual the actual view from the cockpit and things like that, and I make sure to go in on that J288 to get that kill there, and just dart out the way before the Kika can actually get me. Got an AD2 and myself up, but there's the Kika that's going to be a problem right now, and I've got some damage to my engine. Now that Kika is, none of us can catch up to that thing. Speaking of pay to win, the A2D1, but the Kika, we can't catch up to that. It's too fast for us. So we've really got to try and get it in a bit of a head-on solution, or get it stuck over our airfield. But With the damage to my engine now, I've got a cooling issue, I've got leaks coming in, I'm going to have to land, and it's going to be problematic with that Kika above me, especially as the other pilot in the AD21 wasn't actually, wasn't communicating. So we try for a head-on here, and we come up and pull up, and a bit of a dangerous head-on, but we don't get anything, and he bails before we can actually do it, because, you know, again, this thing's got quite a lot of guns, and it's got a lot of incendiary shells to it as well. Sorry, my dinner going off there in the background. So as we go along, we've got some damage, and that Kika looks to be running away with the A2D1 chasing it. So we're going to get an opportunity to land here, so we'll take that opportunity pretty quickly, because with the engine damage we've got, we're going to have some problems. And it is a problem with this plane, and it's a problem with all modified jets at the time. You know, the planes that weren't designed to be jets from the start, where they do have problems with speed, overspeeds, things like that, but they also have a lot of problems with cooling and things like that, because obviously, as you can see with this plane, it's a very, it's got a very fat booty, and it's the Goblin Engine, the Gloucester Goblin Engine, of course, used for, pretty sure it's what's in the Meteor. No, it's the upgraded version, isn't it? Sorry. It's a very powerful engine, but of course it does heat up a lot, and you do need to cool jet engines still. You can't have them running too hot, despite the fact that they are basically just a giant hairdryer spitting out hot air. So it is a problem with these planes. It's an ever bigger problem as well. So coming into land here, and I say to the AT2, you know, just keep up, you know, just defend the airspace, yada yada yada, usual thing when you're landing, when there's an enemy above you. Keep good, and we'll go from there, because, you know, chances are he could come back around and take us. So what does the A2D do? He's coming into land, of course, so yay. Pay to win, players, pay to win, players. So anyway, we get repaired, and we're going to get back in the air as quickly as we can, because obviously he's coming into land and scrubbing off a lot of speed, which leaves us both very juicy targets to a Kika in the sky if it comes over the airfield. Now, the biggest problem I have now is I can't get back to a good speed. It takes a while for this plane to build up momentum. It's got a decent amount of thrust, but it's not great. You know, obviously it's not the best thruster in the world. And you can probably see there's a little black dot to the right of us right now, and that's the Kika coming into the airbase. So we're going to get up, raise our flaps, raise our gear. We're going to try and turn a little bit, get some climbing away from the area because of that Kika, but there's the Kika, it's above us. It's going to come down, and is it going to go for me first, or is it going to go for the A2D? Now obviously it's going to get hit by flak, but it's got the advantage on me, it's got the drop. We're going to try and undercut it, get underneath it so it can't hit us, and we manage that. So it's going to overshoot us. So we've lost a lot of energy right there. So as you can see, we've just bled all of our energy that we didn't even have to start off with, and we're going to have to turn around and get into a sort of head-on situation with this guy. It's coming in again. We're going to come around now. This guy's coming in for a banzai attack, and we've just got enough power just to get the nose up. We lift up, get some shots, and we get a solid snipe. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen. That is the match. So let's just head to the post-battle screen results for that one. And that concludes that matchup. So let's just have a little look at what we got for that one. So not a bad little result there. We ended up with 15k RP and 68,000 lines, which is not too bad in all honesty. Which actually got me above the 2 million lines mark for a change. That's the first time that's happened in a long time. We ended up with Ground Forces Rescuer, Water Troops Rescuer, Final Blow, Terror of the Sky, Bulletproof, and On Hand, and finished top of the team above that dirty kill-stealing bastard. Sorry, no, well, no, actually not sorry at all, dirty kill-stealing bastard. It is just so frustrating when, you know, you have a situation like that where you get criticals on a plane multiple times, and then somebody just swoops in and takes the kill. at the last second, and it's just the fact that it is a constant issue in War Thunder still, despite all of these years. It's very frustrating that they haven't fixed it, and they really have made a bit too much difference between an assist to a target destroy. So with 2 assists, that's 6,000 lines. With 2 kills, that's 15,000 lines. So theoretically, there should be 4 kills there, because the AA killed the last plane. Kill steal by AA as well, by AI even, and the kill steal by the other guy. And there's such a big difference in what you gain from that. It should be more equal. If you've got a kill assist, if it's if you're within a radius of, say, 500 meters of the plane, and you've had a critical on it recently and a hit on it recently, it should be equal to a target kill for a kill assist, and then you wouldn't get these bastards trying to just kill steal everywhere. It's just so frustrating they don't do something like that. You don't really get any special rewards for helping out in that kind of situation. But we did get some decent RP there, 15k as I said, towards the J32 at least, and some decent money. We also got our new 20 mils. Let's just see how much RP we got for that. Yeah, so 14k RP, so that's going to help us get some decent bits on this plane for sure. We can finally get the G suit, which is going to help out an enormous amount, because blackouts are a constant issue in War Thunder. Especially in jets. It's one of the reasons I've not been playing the J29, for instance, because there's no G-suit, which ruins the plane for me. It's a useless plane without a G-suit. Unless you completely ace a crew, you're kind of screwed. So it doesn't make sense to me much why a early prop converted into a jet gets a G-suit, while an actual fighter interceptor doesn't get a G-suit. I will have to look into that and actually see what the Swedish Air Force were doing with that, because I honestly don't see this having a G-suit in reality. The J21s, I don't understand why they would have G-suits in them compared to your J29s. Even things like the Vampire, that has a G-suit, of course. The Attacker variant doesn't. So it's like, you don't get any G-suits with the J29s, and just apart from the premium, of course. Of course, the premium has it. So it makes little sense. So I'm going to have a little bit of a look on the A, F, and B variant and see if they actually did have a G-suit to them. Because if they did, it's a hefty modification that they've left out of the basic game. And again, it is that pay-to-win mentality of pay-to-win mentality of the premium just being so much better than the base version, which is happening more and more. Recently they announced a new root kit coming out, of course, for Britain, the premium version of the root kit, which is which is going to have the 105mm gun in it. So it's going to be a upped guns, better version of the Rucat, and it's probably going to be around sort of 8.7 or something like that. So again, the premium version is much better than the regular version, which is always the way they go, and it's just becoming more and more pay to win, which is frustrating really, because it just ruins the game. Pay to win does not help a game to succeed, and as I was saying a little bit, it's the research numbers you need, the figures you need to actually research a plane is just ridiculous. The fact you need 39,000 research points to get the J29B and 39,000 research points to get the J32B makes no sense. These should be much less. Like 300,000 maybe would be a good amount for the J29B variant, because it's not even 8.7, it's an 8.3. If we look at other nations with sort of 8.3, again, 99,000 research points for the Mystia, the same BR, but so much more research required for it, and same rank even. It makes no sense with the research cost. It does, because they're making it so people effectively can't get things, and it makes it hard to actually get all these things, and it just makes it a costly time. Naval is probably the worst for it, in all honesty. If we actually look at naval research, you know, go for Germany, because they've got the HIPAA, the Graf Spee, even the Graf Spee, 270,000 research points. The Admiral HIPAA, 220,000 research points. Nuremberg, 220,000 research points. Pretty sure the Colne was like 220 and the Emden was 220. It's like every ship is like just that ridiculous amount of research points. And the worst thing in naval is it's not just the rank, because of course you know, like a rank 2 ship, if we look at the Isuzu, you know, 27,000 research points. The Megami, 22,000 research points. It just, there's little sense to all of the research points and how they have it, and it just makes it so grindy. Like, to actually get to cruisers, to actually get a cruiser in the Japanese Navy, you need to grind out all of the destroyers, of course, and that's a couple of 100,000 research points, which is a lot of games. And then to get to a heavy cruiser, you need to grind out 1, 2, 320, 560 RP to get to a heavy cruiser. And to get to Megamo, you need to grind out 1, 320, 540. 540,000 research points to get to that 5.7 ship, which is just ludicrous. And it just, yeah, it's beyond a joke, really. Like the cost of the time sink is too much. That's the problem. And even with premium account, you know, and I've got premium account and had premium account for years, it still takes forever to grind things out, because they don't want people having everything and having an easy time. Alright, that's me for my grumble of War Thunder anyway, so I'll catch you all again soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and all that stuff. See you again. Bye-bye.